Hello GCSE students, welcome to your AQA music. This is the first homework of 7. This is on area of study 1, which you should know is rhythm and meter. Before we start, when it comes to around about 4 or 5 minutes time in this video, you'll have to answer some questions. Your sheet of paper should look something like this. Make sure your name is in the top corner, and you can put the title AQA GCSE Music Homework Task for Video 1, which is what this is. Area of Study 1, Rhythm and Meter. There'll be 14 questions in total. If you want to pause the video at this point so you can create that, might be a good idea. Okay, so the theme of this video is basically the bottom number of the time signature, which is more difficult than the top. Hopefully by now you're aware that the top number, e.g. in this example 4-4, the top number means there's 4 beats in a bar. Next bar, there's 6 beats in a bar. 2 beats in a bar, 9 beats in a bar. Hopefully you've got that in your brains already. If you haven't, you should now, because I just told you. Now, as for the bottom number, that's what we need to really explore in this video, and by answering the questions at the later stage of this video, you should be demonstrating your knowledge and understanding in this. The bottom number gives us the rhythmic value of the notes. So for example, if it's a 4 at the bottom, it represents crotchets. If it's an 8 at the bottom, it represents quavers. At this point, I would sort of ask you this question: how many crotchets can you get in a bar? How many quavers can you get in a bar? That might help you understand it as we go along. Just be aware that the most common number for the bottom number of a time signature is 4 and 8, because crotchets and quavers are used quite a lot in music. Okay, more on that a bit later. Right, so let's take a look. So in this particular example, the bottom number is 4. This represents crotchets, so we have 4 crotchets or equivalent in each bar. Now, by equivalent, we can really just use a simple example. In this example, you can see, or you might just be able to see, crotchets and quavers. Quavers paired up are the equivalent to a crotchet. In this next example, we have 6-8. 8 represents quavers, so we can have 6 quavers, or equivalent, in each bar. Equivalents might look like that. You might have some semiquavers, you might have some rests. If you can't see that quite properly, hopefully you can hear what I was saying. In this example, 2. Well, 2 is a bit more tricky. It represents minims. You can get 2 minims in a bar, as you can see in this bar here. This is an example of getting 2 minims in a bar. So if it's 2-2, you can get 2 minims or equivalent in a bar. And in the equivalent example, you can see a dotted crotchet and a quaver, which makes up the same value as a minim. This is a slightly more complex version. The bottom number is 16. That represents semiquavers. You can get 16 semiquavers in a bar, and therefore that's why it represents semiquavers, or equivalent. And the equivalent might look like that. You'd have some rests, possibly some demi-semiquavers maybe. Who knows? So, the reason why 4 and 8 at the bottom of your time signature are more common is that generally, if you think about tempos of music, tempi should I say, it has an I when you meant to say more than one tempo, music is normally not too slow, not too fast. Well, if it's 2-2, that's 2 minims. That's quite a slow pace, minims. Likewise, your music would be pretty fast if it was 16, if it was in semiquavers. So that's why 4 and 8 are the most common types of time signatures at the bottom number. Okay, now, kind of relates to maths a little bit. All time signatures can be named in a certain way. They have a mathematical formula. You've already seen the pattern, hopefully 2, 4, 6 and 8. Incidentally, it does go up to 32 and 64 for a bottom number, but that would be insanely fast music, so we don't need to talk about that at the moment. There are 5 words we need to learn in this video. Simple and compound. So if the time signature could be grouped into 2s, you might say it's simple. Well, you would say it's simple. If it can be grouped into 3s, compound. More on that later. And then duple, triple, quadruple. Now, by the nature of those words, you might get the idea that we need to think 2, 3 and 4. So 5 words: simple, compound, duple, triple, quadruple. So they're important in this video because you're going to need to answer questions on it later. Let's take a read of that. When we use the words above to describe a time signature, we use a word from the left followed by a word from the right. An example would be simple, duple. Word from the left, word from the right. And this means something. You'll find that out shortly. Other examples could be compound triple, simple triple. It goes on. So you might be wondering what a certain time signature should be called with these words, and that's exactly what you should be wondering. If you weren't, you should be. So we're going to learn how it works. Make sure you do concentrate. That's why I've got an exclamation mark on that. Let's start with the word on the left. Okay, a 2/4 time signature is either simple or duple. Well, it's simple, and the reason why is because the groups of notes in 2/4 can be grouped into twos. See? A crotchet can become two quavers. That sort of idea. They're not grouped in threes, they can be grouped in twos. So we call it simple. Now, we know already, hopefully, that the 2 at the top means there's 2 beats in a bar. So, therefore, we can call it, think 2, duple, simple, duple. We can call 2/4 time signature simple duple. More on this as we go through. So learn the other time signatures. Well, it gets possibly more difficult or more easy, depends how your brain is currently working. This one's in 4/4. Now, if it's in 4/4, can the beats be grouped in twos? Hopefully beats 2 and 4, which are quavers, should give you the answer. The answer is, of course, yes, they can be grouped into twos. So therefore, 4/4 is simple, because it can be grouped into twos. We've got our first word. What about the second word? How many beats are there in a bar of music? In this particular time signature, nice and easy. Hopefully you did say it was 4 beats in a bar. So, if it's 4 beats in a bar, do we think 2? No. Do we think 3? No. We think 4. So quadruple is the word related. So we've got simple, quadruple. In 4/4 time, the signature would be simple quadruple. Hopefully this is gradually making sense. So we have a 6/8 bar here. So how would we work out a 6/8 bar? Good question. Is it grouped into twos or threes? Well, that looks like it's grouped into threes to me. You can see a bridge over each group of 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So the answer is it's grouped into threes. Now, simple is grouped into twos, compound is grouped into threes. So hopefully now you're realising that 6/8 is compound. But we now need to work out the second word. We've worked out our first. How many groups of 3 are there? Well, don't know about you, but I can see 2 groups of 3 there. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So that means that it's duple. Think 2. 2 groups of 3, duple. So we've got compound duple time. So 6/8 is compound duple. At this point, I'm going to ask you to get that worksheet ready for the answers. It needs to look something like that. So let's just do a little recap. All of these time signatures, and you can see them in red circles there, can be named in a certain way for their mathematical formula. You're only ever going to be using 5 words. The first word will be either simple or compound, and the second word will be duple, triple, or quadruple. Okay. What I'd like you to do, please, is pause this screen now, because these are the 14 questions you now need to answer. Good luck.